On this episode of the Turnbuckle, Saraya comments on her AEW Dynamite promo. Brock Lesnar likely won't wrestle again in the USA this year. There's some major concern over the severity of Randy Orton's back injury, and the Elite may have to wait for legal action before returning from AEW suspension. Folks, it's time to hit a code red at some wrestling news because it's time for the Turnbuckle. After making her debut at Grand Slam, Saraya cut a promo in this week's show leading to the title match between Toni Storm and Serena Deeb. She posted to social media on Thursday stating that she is proud of this segment for showcasing a good portion of the women's division, even if it wasn't her best performance. I'm going to hold all comments until the end of the article. Quote, on a good note, so on the tweet, she was like, on a good note, I'm so proud of the women yesterday. Not only did they get more than 5 minutes to have a match, it was the first ever lumberjack match, a woman on commentary, and a good portion of the roster being showcased. That's a win. And in parentheses, she said, even if I was a little rusty. And then she put a tweet that said, summer wrestling Twitter when anyone makes a hiccup. And there's a gif of, I don't know. I feel like I know the movie, but I don't actually know. I think so he's getting initiated into a gang, and they're just, like, beating the fuck out of him, and they're pretty much seeing how long he can go and, like, how long he can hold his own, but she's being like, hey, I'm being attacked, I can't make a comment, because I'm gonna get beat up by wrestling Twitter. Oh, man. So, she posted on social media Thursday morning, she's proud of the segment. Okay, so, she came out, and she said, I'm the women's revolution. And she said, this is my house. And then she rhymed Brit with shit. And then she went on commentary for the women's lumberjack match with Toni Storm and Serena Deeb. And it was a fantastic match. A fantastic match. And yes, it got more than 5 minutes. And yes, she's got a point. Some of the women's matches don't get as much time as the men's matches, right? And that goes without saying. And that's been around for a very long time, right? My gripe with her is that she's not really doing anything in the grand scheme of things. She's really not doing anything. She was like, first woman on commentary. You didn't really say that much, if we're going to be honest here. None of your commentary was groundbreaking. You made a point to talk about how it was the first lumberjack match. That's great, but I feel as though that wouldn't have necessarily happened. That wouldn't have not happened if you weren't there. I feel like eventually that would have happened, right? Also, it's not really a lumberjack match if the women outside don't really do anything. Okay, here's my idea of a lumberjack match. I assumed that the whole point of a lumberjack match is that every single time a wrestler, not a specific wrestler, not, just any time a wrestler fell out of the ring, they got the shit beat out of them, and then they got thrown back in. I thought that was the whole point of a lumberjack match. It's like a steel cage match, except the people are the cages. The idea is to not get out of the ring. Which is ironic because that defeats the purpose of the lumberjack match because then you're just going to stay in the ring. Nothing really happened. There were like fucking 8 women out there surrounding the ring. It was like a shitty Nexus takeover, right? I can't really, I'm not really, that's not even an issue. To be honest with you, that's not even remotely an issue. And also, right, you're obviously not going to have Paige being able to speak up during the commentary for multiple points. Because, you got Taz as the color commentator and you got Excalibur as the play-by-play. So obviously, Sriracha, she's not going to have many moments throughout the match to really input herself, right? But there's just something about Saraya and how she just sort of like, the door was open and she just sort of like wandered in. And now all of a sudden she's like, look at what I'm doing. Look at all the history that I am making. Everyone, please pay attention to just how absolutely groundbreaking I truly am. I am woman. Look at me, woman. Doing things as woman. Women. Fuck me, man. Listen. I am still not over the fact that she's not fucking cleared to wrestle. And I'm still not over the fact that all she fucking did was bring the women out and then go, hey, Britt, your name rhymes with poopy. Get it? Because it rhymes and you're poopy. And then she went, even if I was a little rusty. And then she went summer wrestling Twitter when anyone makes a hiccup. So she knows that she went out there and she shat the bed. I mean, was it an absolute mess of diarrhea? No. But there was a log, and it was noticeable. And she also, I like how she was like, not only did they get more than 5 minutes to have a match, so she's taking digs at WWE and AEW, and she's making it seem as though that when she comes in, she's going to absolutely flip the entire script. Maybe that's not what she's doing. Maybe I'm reading a little bit too much into this. But I feel as though that I agree with a number of people when I say that it's not really fair to WWE when you are going out and you're saying the WWE shit is shit, despite the fact that WWE did fucking more than enough for you and your career. You even went on to say that, oh, your sex tape got leaked and WWE didn't punish you for it. And, oh, you were, dealing with, addiction, right? Because you, fucked up your wellness test or whatever the fuck, and they helped you. So I don't understand what's going on here. You're making it seem as though, it's like when Bobby Fish came out and he was like, I'm a lightning rod for controversy. No, you're not. Are you? You're not. You're just saying all this shit because, you think that it's cool. You think it's significant. You think you're the kid behind the school smoking a cigarette and everyone's like, oh, fucking badass. Oh, revolutionary. You're not, really. You're not. I mean, fucking the Bella Twins are more fucking revolutionary than you. Fucking Jesus Christ, you dropped me in the middle of the ring. I could probably fart out a better fucking promo than you. Maybe. I don't really know. Maybe I would get stage fright and piss myself, and that would be all I'm known for. But Jesus Christ, man. I'm not gonna Ryan Britt with shit. Or maybe I will. Who knows, man? I don't know. I don't know, man. This is just... She sure is something, ain't she? Hey? Saraya. She sure is a character, isn't she, man? Next, we're going to talk about Brock Lesnar and how he likely won't wrestle again in the USA this year. So, according to Dave Meltzer in the latest edition of Wrestling Observer Newsletter, WWE Day 1 2023 is the next US show that Lesnar is currently listed for. Brock has been featured prominently in advertising for the WWE Day 1 Premium Live event, indicating that he'll be in action on the January 2023 live show. Meltzer also revealed that WWE is contemplating moving the Premium Live event to another date as well. A decision is expected sometime within the week. There is talk that it could be changed and okay, so this is Meltzer. Quote, there is talk that it could be changed and the announcement would be made next week if that's the case. Although we were told that either way it would remain at the building. Also, as of right now, Lesnar is scheduled on that show, which is the next US show that is being listed for. I mean, it kind of defeats the purpose of calling it Day 1, right? A decision will be made this week regarding the state of the Day 1 pay-per-view show. Right now, the show is scheduled for January 1st at the State Farm Arena in Atlanta. That kind of defeats the purpose of calling it Day 1 if it's not happening on the first day of the first month of the first year. Yeah. It's the first year ever. That kind of defeats the purpose of it. See, and this is the thing. This is like Money in the Bank and Hell in a Cell, right, and TLC. You kind of are setting up an accidental precedent for, the show itself. So you're calling it Day 1, which clearly means that, it has to happen on the first day. But, I mean, I guess you could still call it Day 1 if it's the first pay-per-view of the year. And if it's the first pay-per-view of the year, then all right. Then you can still keep the name. I don't really see an issue with that. Lesnar not showing up until next year doesn't surprise me. That really hasn't changed because he doesn't really do anything for WWE for the next 6 months, and then he shows up and then he spits in the ring and then somebody gives him the world title and then everybody is like, I want that, and then Brock is like, slap, no, you can't have it, and then fucking, I don't know, Kofi or a fucking twig comes up and they slap him in the back of the head and then they crush one of his testicles and then they get the belt, and then that's pretty much it, and then the cycle continues pretty much. So this doesn't surprise me. I mean, if that's the case, right, that he's not showing up until WWE Day 1, I mean, I'm curious to see what the show's going to be, but as of right now, again, this isn't really anything crazy, but what's more interesting, to be honest with you, because fucking hell, we've heard this Brock Lesnar shit multiple times. What's more interesting is the fact that they're moving the Day 1 show. So, like I said, if it isn't on the first day, that's weird. But if it's the first pay-per-view, then I understand. Next, we're going to talk about the major concern over the severity of Randy Orton's back injury. Orton has been out of action for a long time due to his back injury. According to the Wrestling Observer Newsletter, there's major concern over Randy Orton's injury. Randy Orton could also miss out on the remainder of this year due to his injury. We'll have to see when the Viper will be able to make his return to the squared circle. So, WWE announced Orton's injury. Although they did not go into specifics on how long the Viper might be on the shelf, a new report from behind Fightful's paywall indicates that it may be worse than anticipated. Randy could miss the rest of the year. Fightful has learned that Orton has been dealing with a back injury for quite some time, to the point he actually had worked on to improve his condition before the tag team title unification match. Though we aren't sure of the extent of the work that was done, we're told that things have gotten progressively worse. And WWE fears that Orton will be forced to undergo a surgery. WWE sources that we spoke to said that if that happens, Orton would likely be out of action for the rest of 2022. Thus far, the exact injury is unknown. WWE's creative team is not currently including Randy Orton in any future plans. He has been showing up in the internal WWE injury reports and has been off of TV since losing to the Usos. Orton was originally planned to challenge Roman Reigns, but has since been replaced by Matt Riddle. So, yikes, man. You don't want to hear about that, you know. You want to hear that he's getting surgery and he's going to be fine, but considering the fact that it's getting worse, it's hard to really speculate when he might be back. It sounds like he's going to be out for the rest of the year, which isn't good, man. You don't want to hear that, you know? And I know that Randy, like The Miz, is one of those people that, like, he rarely ever gets injured. Like, he specifically wrestles in such a way that he doesn't injure himself, you know? So when you hear stuff like this, it's like, oh, that's not good. That stinks. You know, so he's going to be out for the foreseeable future, and it doesn't sound like he's going to be making any type of recovery anytime soon. But as always, man, I hope he makes a speedy recovery, and I hope he's back in the ring sooner rather than later. Finally, we're going to be talking about the Elite and how they have to wait for legal action before returning from AEW's suspension. Kenny Omega and the Young Bucks are still suspended, but they haven't heard any new information recently. According to Wrestling Observer newsletter, AEW superstars may have to face some legal action before they can make their way back between the ropes and in their roles as the EVPs. Regarding the Young Bucks and Kenny Omega, they all hadn't heard anything from the company, at least as of a few days ago. The company hasn't and won't address anything regarding pretty much anything these days on these types of subjects. But the belief is that their situation is on hold pending potential legal action, which, unless cleared up, could delay things for some time, and there's also a second holdup that has been made clear. Okay, there's a second holdup. AEW has been silent on the matter since it happened. The only thing we have heard is that there is an internal third-party investigation going on, and the company plans to make things better by proving that they are doing things by the law. There are those who think there will be some legal action taken on these superstars before they can be cleared up for ring performance and given the opportunity to explain their actions. After all, CM Punk has been known to use his attorneys when needed. When that legal situation might come to a head is a different question, but the return will pop their crowd in both the arena and at home. The Elite is one of the most respected factions of the Young Bucks and Kenny Omega. So, I mean, that makes sense. That goes without saying that really you can't really say or do anything until the whole legal side of everything, like, blows over. You know what I mean? So it makes sense that Kenny and the Young Bucks and Punk and Ace Steel and all that can't really speak on it. That's why whenever you hear MJF, like, say, oh, no comment, I'm more than certain legally he cannot say anything. Legally, he is not allowed to speak on this, because if he does, then he could get in trouble for relaying information that I'm going to assume hasn't necessarily been confirmed yet, right? So it makes sense that everyone is sort of keeping a hush-hush on it for right now until, you know, more stuff comes out. And considering the fact that we haven't really heard anything, I'm going to assume that that is the legal side of things still being worked out before anybody can really come back and go, hey, this is what happens, and then getting, like, yanked back and be like, you're not supposed to say shit, all right? You know? So it makes sense that we haven't heard anything, and it makes sense we haven't seen anything. Kenny's, as far as I mean, the last time I saw Kenny, he was in Japan. Right, I was in Japan too, you know. But yeah, the last time we saw Kenny, he was in Japan, and he had the bite mark on him. Somebody was saying that it was makeup. Anyway. But, yeah, it makes sense that we haven't really heard anything, and we're probably not going to hear anything anytime soon. I mean, okay, from the sounds of it, it sounds like Punk was lying. And Punk is in trouble. That's what it sounds like. It sounds like Punk is in trouble. And it sounds like Kenny and the Young Bucks didn't really do anything, right? In terms of, like, getting themselves in any type of legal turmoil. But because they were involved in it, right? And because now that we have to take legal action for it, they can't really say anything, and we're not supposed to be hearing anything, you know, as of yet. So really, as I like to say, only time will tell. We have to wait and see. You know what I mean? There's not really much else that we can say, you know, on the matter. So we're gonna have to. We're gonna have to wait and hear what. I don't know. I guess what legal platform comes out and what they have to say about it. Boys, what do we talk about? Saraya comments on her AEW promo, and she admits she was a little rusty. Listen, you can be rusty. There's nothing wrong with that. I have no problem with the rust. Okay, the rust isn't the issue. I just think it's the way that you're carrying yourself. The way you're carrying yourself as though you are you are the one carrying the flag and running into battle. Like, no, if anything, you're not even supposed to be fucking doing that because you're not even cleared anyway. Like, you just come off as this person who's like, yeah, I had a party. Everybody was there. It was great. Meanwhile, there were like 3 people there and like fucking 2 people went home early. You know, that's just what I'm getting from her. Lesnar likely won't be wrestling anytime soon this year. That makes sense. That's pretty much his schedule anyway, so I'm not really surprised. There's major concern over the severity of Randy Orton's back injury. Apparently, it's getting worse. That's not good. I don't want to hear that. But listen, man, Randy, if you're out there, if you're listening to this, okay, and you might be, who knows, all right? Hopefully, you make a speedy recovery and you're back sooner rather than later. And the Elite have to wait for legal action before they can return from the AEW suspension, which makes sense because you don't want them going out there and being like, hey, this is what happened, because then they're going to get chloroformed and thrown in a van, and nobody wants that. Boys, I'm going to give a shout out to everybody who stopped by. Hopefully everybody has a wonderful tonight and a wonderful tomorrow, and as always, big hugs. Big hugs all around.